Today I've got the privilege to do an interview with one of the legends in the accounting industry. His name is Mark Wickersham. I've been following him for many years, and he's one of the guys that made the biggest impact in my accounting practice over the years. So I reached out to him and he said yes, he will do an interview with me today for my YouTube channel as well, for all the guys that's busy watching my videos, who's accountants out there. Let me run to my computer, and then I can introduce you guys to Mark Wickersham himself. Today, I'm very fortunate to have the legend himself, Mark Wickersham, on my YouTube channel. So, Mark, maybe down to you. Do you want to introduce yourself quickly to the viewers, and then we'll start unpacking what it is that you do?
Yeah, well, thank you, Heinrich, for inviting me to have a new channel. I'm very impressed, and thank you for those kind words. So my name is Mark Wickersham. I am an accountant. I've been in the profession now since way back now in 1988. And like most accountants, I went to work for a large multi-partner firm on a training contract, 8 partners in the UK, qualified after 3 years as a chartered accountant. And that was, Heinrich, you might remember, I don't know, 1991, that was when I qualified. That was a year where we had certainly in the UK, but I think it was global, a recession. And I remember all my colleagues on the training contract going in for a meeting with the partners, and most of them were made redundant. And I was the last to go in, probably because my name started with W. So I was called in, and the very first question, I sat down in front of the two partners. It was very intimidating. And the first thing they said was, Mark, I don't think you like audit work, do you? And I thought, oh no, this is not going to start off too well. But I'm not able to lie. So I said, no, I don't find it that exciting. Thinking, okay, my time's come as well. But they said, but it seems like you've got a really good grasp of tax. You like tax. And I said, yeah, I love tax. And so they said, what we'd like to do is second you and put you in our tax department. And given the potential alternative, I said, yeah, that would be amazing. And so I did tax for a few years, became their corporation tax manager. And that was my start in the profession until I decided to start my own accounting firm.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. It's always lovely to hear people's stories. And I think, obviously, a lot of the people don't know that's busy watching this thing, what it's about. And I feel, like I say, I've been following you for a couple of years. Tell us about the whole thing, about what it is that you do. Obviously, there's 3 main topics. We're going to be talking a little bit about your 3 books that you've written, or the main stuff that you're talking about. And I think the one that made the biggest impact in my accounting profession was value pricing for accountants. And I see you've got the shirt on as well today. Tell us maybe just a brief overview of those 3 areas that you specialize in.
Yeah, so the background is I am, as you rightly said, it's value pricing is what I'm known for, and I really got into it back in 1999. So I started my accounting firm as a sole practitioner in '96. Decided I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to be my own boss, choose the hours I worked, have the vacations I wanted. And over the next 2 or 3 years, I found that my practice grew crazy fast. I must have been good at something, perhaps marketing. But I did find that 2.5 years in, my life was a bit of a mess. I realized I'd grown fast. I'd moved into my first offices, outgrew those and moved to bigger offices, kept hiring people to do work. And by the end of 1998, I was working crazy long hours, and I was just struggling to make ends meet. And so I then met someone in late 1998 that changed the way that I thought about running a business, particularly with business advisory, which we'll talk about later. And that took me on a path of, I met in quick succession 3 people that were my heroes, mentors that changed my life. One of those in late 1999 was Ron Baker. And it was Ron that explained to me this concept of value pricing, which I'd never heard of. I'd grown up in the accounting profession believing that we had to keep timesheets, that we had to bill based on the hour. And when he explained value pricing in 1999, this light bulb went on, and it made so much sense. And the very first thing I implemented in my firm, the first service that I put in place, a value pricing system, over the next 2 years, my average price went up by almost 4 times doing the same thing. It had extraordinary results. It turned from a complete mess to one that was reasonably profitable, and so much so that I was able to sell it a few years later. And I then was invited in 2000 to speak at a conference of accountants to explain my story of the mess I'd made and what I'd started doing to turn it around in both advisory and value pricing. And I then went into business with someone called Steve Pipe, who was one of those mentors. And we ran for the next decade from 2003. We spent 10 years running AVN together, which was a network of accountants in the UK, where I was teaching them how to build a more successful practice. And what I found was that over that period, of all the things I taught, the things that the accountants resonated the most with was this idea of having to change the way we price, of moving to value pricing. So I decided to make that the thing I focused on. I wrote some books on it. My first book was May 2011. I then founded the Value Pricing Academy in 2014. I left AVN when Steve Pipe retired and decided I want to actually work globally. And for the last 10 years, I've been teaching the profession around the world. I work with about 500 firms in mainly the US, Canada, UK, and South Africa. And I help people with value pricing, but also advisory, and essentially just building a more successful practice.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah, so I think just maybe my little 2 cents of my experience when it came to value pricing, I think for me it was like a light bulb moment when I heard you the first time. Just to think, because a lot of people are under the impression that accountants' work is to press a button. But we don't just press a button. There's so much more things that we actually do in the process of just getting to the point where we press the button. We forget the value that we add by reaching out to a client once a month and say, listen, dude, send me the bank statements. Let's do a bank recon. Let's look at this, look at that. And there's all those small things that are actually adding value to your client. You know, you oversee it because you're the person that's stuck inside the engine room, as to say, but you don't realize the value that you're adding. So I think I just wanted to just mention that quickly. I think that, like I said, that was definitely a light bulb moment. And now once I started realizing that in my own practice as well, I started changing the way that I was pricing my stuff. But we'll talk about that a little bit further just now as well. Great.
Yeah, you make a great point there, Heinrich. A lot of the starting point with value pricing and the challenge is it's an internal thing. We've first got to recognize, as you say, that we create a lot of value. We take for granted the amazing things that we do in the profession because we live that day in, day out, and it's simple to us. And that's the starting point. It's an internal conversation of recognizing that we actually create huge amounts of value. And we need to have more confidence in the fact that we can change people's lives, whether it's through saving tax, helping them save their business because we're helping them fix cash flow issues, whatever it might well be. We can make huge, profound differences to the lives of business owners. And we need to recognize that we are valuable.
Perfect. Yeah. So that was the first main topic that you've become known for, is the value pricing part. Second part, business advisory. And let's maybe talk a little bit about that, the development of that. And I know that you've written some material on that topic as well. Do you maybe just want to unpack that a little bit for me?
Yeah, sure. I love advisory. It was way back in late 1998 when I met Steve Pipe, who I then worked with for 10 years. He was the one that over a 3-day event called the Accountants Masterclass, he talked about this idea that we can help our clients build more successful businesses. I'd never thought of that. Again, growing up in the profession, I thought we just did compliance work and tax. And so I then spent the next few years doing a lot of advisory work and found it fascinating. And I think that it's something that as a profession we have to do more, partly because when I teach value pricing, a key part of value pricing is if we want to get bigger prices, we have to create more value. The more value that we can create for people, we can then charge higher prices. And the two of the ways that we can create huge value is one, of course, is tax planning. We've got the potential to save huge amounts of money with tax, and we need to price based on the value, not the hours. And the other one's business advisory, where we can really help clients make a difference in their businesses. And so because most, particularly small businesses, there's a lot of things they just don't know about running a business, whether it's strategy, marketing, sales, pricing. And while some of these things accountants might feel that's not my skill set, there are certain things that are in our skill set that we can deliver. Pricing is a great one because actually almost nobody understands pricing. So as the things that I teach to accountants with pricing for their practice, I teach that this concept of duality, everything we learn that will help our own accounting firm is just as applicable to our clients. So one of the things that we can do is once we understand some of the concepts of value pricing, we can then teach our clients those things and create huge value and charge good fees for doing that. Another area that we are very good at in the profession, but we don't realize it, is because we are very systematic in our thinking, because we like things like our audit checklists and standard forms and so on. We are very good at systems, and most small businesses are chaos. All the systems are carried around in the owner's heads. And one of the things I did a lot of was helping clients systemize their business because they're a mess. And we're very good at that because of the way that our brains are wired with all the detail stuff. And so that's a great thing that we can do. We can help clients implement systems. And in this tech world we live in now, there's all sorts of tech that I know many of the accountants I work with and the bookkeepers, they love their tech stacks. And so we can take those skills we're learning with technology, systems, processes, and we can help our clients with those things.
Yes, that's good. And I think probably the third one that I just want to touch on quickly as well. I think I watched some of your videos the other day and I was just blown away. I'm actually going to see if I can edit a part of that into this video as well for the people that's busy watching, is the whole development of AI and the accounting world. Maybe we just want to touch briefly on that.
Yeah, AI is a huge issue right now. It is not new. It's been around for about 70 years, AI has. But there was really a turning point in November of 2022, which is when OpenAI released ChatGPT 3 to the public. And since November 2022, we have seen a huge acceleration in AI across all forms of AI, whether it's robotics, whether it's in the world of health. But the one that particularly fascinates me, and it is the use of large language models, which is one of the most powerful forms of AI. A large language model is, for example, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. There are dozens of large language models. I particularly like ChatGPT because it's the one I teach, because it's the one that most people have heard of and most people use. And the reason I became fascinated by it was really two things. Number one is I've always been fascinated by how can we be more efficient and effective in our firms through productivity and systems. I remember back in 1998 reading the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, which I think should be an essential book for any business owner. He talks about the systems message. So I was always very into creating systems and processes for my accounting firm, for the clients I worked with, and this whole idea of just being more productive. And when I came across ChatGPT, I suddenly realized, wow, this can save us huge amounts of time. We can do some extraordinary things with this. And so I spent the last nearly 18 months now really going deep on how to use it better, and particularly the skill of prompt engineering, and which is a really important skill we need to learn. Prompt engineering is simply a fancy label for how do we communicate with AI tools, and communication, I think, is the number one soft skill that we all need to master, whether it's speaking communication, whether it's written communication, but now communicating with AI. So I love teaching and helping people with prompt engineering. How can we create prompts that we can put into a large language model like ChatGPT and get amazing results? I did a session yesterday for my audience on strategic business models, consulting models, and how we can use ChatGPT to, in just minutes, create a complete strategy for any business using tools like the SWOT analysis or PEST or balanced business scorecard. And when we understand those business models for helping clients with strategy, for advisory, and then we understand how we can craft amazing prompts that we can feed to ChatGPT, we can get complete business plans in just a matter of minutes. It's extraordinary what we can do with this technology.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree with you. I'm also one of those guys that ventured a little bit into ChatGPT, but I don't think I'm as deep in as what you are. And I think what I was really impressed by, we talked about it the other day when we also had a call, is the language models. You know, like I said, I'm going to try and edit it into this video, maybe just a short snippet where I actually found the virtual Mark Wickersham. And I'm going to ask you one or two questions, and I'm going to edit it into this video so the viewers can actually see. It's just that's such an amazing thing. And if you just think about it, you know, the work for accountants, you know, so my YouTube channel is quite known for Sage, but just think about the possibilities. If you do a support system with Sage, with a language model, where somebody can phone in and say, listen, I've got this problem, how do I fix it in Sage? And that virtual Heinrich will be able to answer the questions for them. I mean, it's mind-blowing. Yeah, well done for leading the way in that. I really appreciate it.
My digital clone, which I know that's how we kind of connected. You were asking questions of my digital, which is something we introduced a few months back now. We've been training it with all my content so it can answer questions. And I was talking to one of the members of the Value Pricing Academy, a lady called Sarah Bridges. And what she did, which was really cool. So one of the things I teach is in value pricing, one of the most important things is how do we communicate the value? If we don't do that, the client won't understand the value and they'll always think it's too expensive. And because I like systems, one of the things I've always taught is that when you communicate the value, you want a script. Scripts are really important systems. And the best script is a professional pricing brochure, which you can use for this one's for bookkeeping. And I teach the process of building up the value of bookkeeping by talking about the pain, the end result of working with you, giving them 3 options and describing the benefits of all the things you do. And this lady called Sarah, she wanted to do a brochure for a diagnostic review. And so she went to my digital clone and asked a whole bunch of questions, like what are the pain points and stuff. And she took all my answers from my digital clone and she built her brochure from that with all the scripts and the words, which I thought that was really smart, really smart thinking to get me to give her this written content, but it was just my digital version.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Yeah, so I think let's maybe start landing this. So I think on those 3 topics, what is your biggest tip that you can give for somebody in terms of value pricing?
Yeah, biggest tip. Okay, I mean, it's such a huge topic, but I think that my biggest tip is actually the very first thing I did back in 1999 when I realized that everybody values things differently. We don't know how much somebody does value something, and we can't ask them. We can't say, Heinrich, you want this tax turn. What's the maximum you're willing to pay? The customer won't answer that question. So we have to figure it out. And I realized that one of the most powerful things we can do is to give people choices, different packages. Think of it as the bronze, silver, gold. And I know that sounds commonplace now because we see it everywhere. All the SaaS companies, the software companies offer different choices. It was unknown back in 1999, but that was one of the main reasons I was able to take one of my tax services and get nearly 4 times the price. I gave them a choice of 3. And it works for so many reasons. But one of the things that I found really interesting is that if for any service, if you just give the client one price, that's always the wrong price. And it also means that we don't like selling in the profession. So if we have one price, here's our tax turn, it's $1,000. It's a binary choice. Either the client says yes or no. And we hate that pressure of what if the client says no? But when you give them 3 choices, 3 options, the conversation subtly changes to not which will I buy, yes or no, but which one will I buy? So the selling process becomes easier because it's now just saying, look, here you go. There's 3 choices. Which one do you want? And those that see the value of the most expensive package, they will choose to pay you more money. Other ones will choose the middle one. Some will choose the cheapest. You make more sales and you make more money. It's really simple to do, but so powerful.
Awesome. Second one, business advisory, biggest tip that you can give to accountants when it comes to business advisory.
Oh, wow. That's a harder one, that is. I don't know. I think that the first tip, I guess, is just to understand what business advisory is, because it's such a broad topic and a lot of people are never quite sure. So the way I teach it is that you need to understand what are the 6 core components of advisory. What are the sorts of things you might do as part of advisory? And number 1 is goal setting. You can't help a client build a more successful business until you know what success means to them. So what are their goals? So we have to do some goal setting. We have to help them with strategy. We need to create management reports, numbers and stuff, which is our expertise anyway. We need to then meet with them and interpret those numbers and give them advice. Forecasting is a 5th element, and then probably the most important is accountability. Is holding them accountable to do the things they said they're going to do. So when we kind of understand what advisory is, then it becomes easier to create 3 packages, 3 options to talk about, to sell it, to market it. So I think the first thing is we have to figure out and understand what is advisory. What are we going to do as part of an advisory service, which doesn't have to be all 6 of those, but it'll be an element of those. We might do some goal setting and then help them with some strategy using a SWOT analysis. That would be advisory.
Awesome. Third one, AI. Give us a tip for the general accountant out there.
Well, that's another hard one because it depends where people are with it. But I guess if people haven't yet started with it, just get a ChatGPT account. You can get a free account. And in May of this year, they launched 4.0, which is their most powerful model, which includes browsing and code interpreter and so on. and they decided to make that available on the free account. So as of May, the free version is extraordinary what you can do with their for ChatGPT 4.0. So my advice is, if anyone who's not been using it much, is first of all, get an account. It's free. And then just start playing with it. And I usually say to people, just start playing it with for personal reasons first, just to see what it can do. So let me just give you one quick story of something I did the other day, which was great fun. I was listening to a song by my favorite band. It's been my favorite band since 1983. And I was listening to the lyrics thinking, what is this song all about? So I grabbed the lyrics, I copied and pasted them into ChatGPT, and I wrote a little prompt and said, I want you to be an expert in understanding song lyrics, and I want to explain about and pick out the main themes and stuff. And it created this long dialogue explaining the lyrics and said, I think this and this. It was just fascinating. And so I always say, just play with it, have some fun with it, use it for planning a travel trip or something, and that will get you to see the possibilities of it, get you comfortable with the tool, and then you can start thinking about serious business applications.
Awesome. And then I think maybe just in closing, Mark, if people are busy watching this and they think, okay, Mark Wickersham is a cool guy, where can they get hold of you? Obviously, I'm going to share some of your links in the description of this video as well. Where can they get the books? Where can they check out that type of stuff, websites and so on?
Yeah, well, yeah, you'll share some links. I guess the two places I would recommend is, number one is connect on LinkedIn. And if you connect on LinkedIn and tell me that you saw me on Heinrich's YouTube channel, I will then send you a message back with some links to a whole bunch of free resources. And the other thing is you could go to my website, which is Wickersham, that's my name, .co.uk. There's also a section on there with free resources. So just go and check out my free stuff, and that's a great place to start.
Yes. And yeah, thanks, Mark. Thank you for your time this morning. Thanks for the impact that you are making in the accounting industry or the accounting world out there. Like I said, for me, I think when I came across your stuff, it was a game changer. And I think the two big things that I took out of your material over the years, I think the two big game changers for my accounting practice was Trello. I'm in love with it. We use it every single day at the office the whole time. And Loom. Now, you can't believe how much time I'm saving just using those two little apps. And I think that's just two small things from the stuff that I've learned from you. Yeah, so I just want to honor you and just want to thank you for what you are doing for the accounting industry out there.
In digital form, how can I help?
Hi, good day, Mark. Tell me, is Sage a good accounting package to use?
Good day. When it comes to choosing an accounting package, it's critically important to focus on what will best serve your firm's needs and help you achieve greater profitability. You must understand that the right accounting software can make a significant difference in your efficiency and client satisfaction.